The man who led the team behind the Tesla Powerwall looked at the 100-year-old breaker box in his basement and decided it was the most outdated object in a modern home. So he replaced it. SPAN, the San Francisco company founded by former Tesla engineer Arch Rao, builds a smart electrical panel. It puts a power meter on every breaker and lets you monitor and switch any circuit from an app. But the real trick here is financial. Its software balances your existing electrical service automatically, so you can add an EV charger, a heat pump, or an induction stove without triggering a utility upgrade. That upgrade can otherwise cost anywhere from $3,000 to north of $20,000. And with numbers like that, SPAN changes the math for millions of older homes that want to go electric but cannot afford the infrastructure bill that comes with it. In this video, we are going to open up the panel, trace how it pulls off that balancing act, and find out whether it is worth the money for your home. The bottleneck nobody warns you about is your service size, the fixed amount of current your utility gives your house, usually 100, 150, or 200 amps in older housing. For decades that was plenty, because a house mostly ran lights, a fridge, and a television. But that has changed fast. A level 2 EV charger can pull 48 amps on its own, a heat pump adds 20 to 30 more, and an induction range piles on top. When you try to add one, the standard code calculation often says your service cannot handle the theoretical peak, so the utility requires an upgrade. And that upgrade is where the pain lives. It can mean new service lines, a new meter, sometimes a new transformer on the pole, and runs from $3,000 to over $20,000. The wait is just as bad, often months long. The scale of this problem is national. The Electric Power Research Institute estimates 17 to 20 million homes in America will need a utility upgrade to support major appliance additions. Everyone is a household that wants to go electric and hits a wall before it starts. Cutting that bill, and the weight that comes with it, is exactly the problem SPAN set out to solve. The company was founded in 2018 by Arch Rao, who spent 5 years at Tesla and led the teams behind the original Powerwall. He had watched the problem up close. Customers would buy a battery or an EV charger, then find the panel next to it could not handle the load. Rao believes about 50% of new EV owners need a panel upgrade or a sub-panel. So he rebuilt the panel from the inside out. A normal breaker box is a passive splitter. Power comes in, it divides into circuits, and a breaker trips only when one circuit pulls too much. It has no idea what is running and no way to tell you. SPAN keeps the safety part but adds a level of intelligence. It uses standard breakers from makers like Eaton and Square D, so any electrician can service it, and those breakers still handle hard overcurrent protection. Behind each one, SPAN adds a controllable relay and a current sensor, so the software can measure every circuit in real time and open or close any of them on command. That sensing powers the headline feature, a software layer SPAN calls Power Up. Instead of sizing your home to the worst case moment where everything runs at once, it watches the actual current flowing through the house. When the total creeps toward your safe service limit, it briefly throttles or pauses a flexible load. That might mean dialing an EV charger down from 48 amps to 24 or holding off the hot tub heater. Once the spike passes, full power comes back. The effect is that your existing service behaves like something larger, because the panel makes the heavy loads take turns instead of stacking. That is what lets a home add an EV charger and a heat pump without calling the utility. The whole thing runs from an app, where you see live power draw on every circuit, flip any of them on or off, and set schedules. It connects over Wi-Fi or Ethernet with a cellular backup so it stays online when the internet drops. Against a plain panel upgrade, the gap is stark. A traditional 200 amp panel runs a few $100s for the hardware, where the SPAN panel costs about $3,500 before installation. Fully installed, SPAN typically lands between $6,500 and $10,000 against roughly $2,000 to $4,000 for a standard panel. The honest way to read that premium is to ask what it cancels out. Against a $300 panel, SPAN looks absurd. Against a panel upgrade plus a $15,000 service upgrade, the panel that makes that upgrade disappear is suddenly the cheaper path, not the more expensive one. The value is not in the box, it is in the construction project you avoid. SPAN is not the only smart panel anymore. Lumen offers a retrofit module that bolts onto your existing panel for less money, but with fewer circuits and a second enclosure on the wall. Eaton, Schneider, and Leviton sell smart breaker systems where you pay per intelligent breaker. Span's pitch is that it is the most fully integrated, metering every circuit out of the box rather than only the ones you upgrade. Where Span pulls clearly ahead is backup. In a normal battery install, an electrician wires a separate critical load subpanel, hardwiring which circuits stay alive in an outage, and changing that list later means physical rewiring. Span drops the subpanel and lets you set backup priorities in software. You tag circuits as must-have, nice-to-have, or non-essential, and during an outage, the panel sheds the low-priority ones to protect the battery. Span says you can change those priorities on the fly mid-outage from the app. That flexibility comes with a runtime claim worth stating carefully. Span says an internal study of it, managing backup priority across more than 1,200 simulated outages, showed about 40% longer battery life. It is the company's own testing, not an independent result, and it depends heavily on your home and battery. It also works by going without, since stretching runtime means turning things off. Some installers argue that for a multi-day outage, buying a second battery beats managing a smaller one. The feature is real and useful, but it is smarter rationing, not extra stored energy. It works with the major batteries, including Tesla Powerwall 3, Enphase, and Franklin WH. The timing is being forced by the building code. The 2026 National Electrical Code recognizes a class of device called a power control system, hardware that actively manages current to keep a home's service from overloading. Under the new code, a certified system's managed limit can stand in for a load's full nameplate rating in the inspector's calculation. That is the legal mechanism that lets an installer skip the service upgrade rather than just hope to. Span built directly into that opening. It was the first smart panel to earn certification under the UL 3141 Power Control System standard. The safety listing the 2026 code leans on. The rules and the product arrive together, which is what turns load balancing from a clever idea into something an inspector will sign off on. The demand side is climbing just as fast. A single EV charging session can pull around 11.5 kilowatts, roughly 100 LED bulbs at once. Stack a heat pump on top, and that is the load profile colliding with all the older 100 and 150 amp service across the country. The money has noticed. In March 2026, the electrical giant Eaton invested $75 million in Span and partnered to fold Span software into Eaton's own panels sold through Eaton's installer and home builder networks. That followed a $176 million Series C, bringing Span's total to nearly $500 million. For a startup trying to replace something as conservative as the breaker box, that backing is what gets electricians to trust it. For all that, Span has real ground to cover before it lands in ordinary homes, and the first obstacle is the price. At $6,500 to $10,000 installed, it skews toward higher income early adopters and big solar plus battery projects. The households with the oldest, most undersized panels, the ones with the most to gain, are often the least able to afford it. For this to reach them, the cost has to fall toward a normal panel, which is what the Eaton partnership is meant to do, though that is not yet proven on a price tag. There is also a durability question. A traditional panel is a dumb mechanical box that lasts 30 to 50 years untouched. Span carries a 10-year warranty and depends on silicon, software, and a network connection. The worry, learned the hard way across the smart home world, is orphaned hardware, where a company folds or kills its servers and leaves owners with a panel whose brain has gone dark. What would settle it is proof that the core load management keeps running locally on the panel itself, even if the cloud disappears. The hardware also has a hard ceiling, because a single Span panel is capped at 200 amp service and around 32 to 48 circuits. A home that needs a true 400 amps has to run 2 panels in a master and sub arrangement, which stacks up the cost and clutters the clean single box pitch. The homes with the heaviest loads are the ones it fits least neatly. And there is a blunt case where it is simply not worth it. If you already have a healthy 200 amp panel and no plans for an EV, solar, or a battery, Span mostly buys you monitoring and convenience for a few $1,000s. The service upgrade savings only land if you are facing an upgrade, and the backup savings only land if you have a battery. Without one, there is no financial payback. Even so, the trajectory points up, and the clearest sign is who is now behind it. The Eaton deal puts a 115-year-old manufacturer's supply chain and contractor network behind a product that used to be a startup curiosity, with co-branded panels expected in the second quarter of 2026. That is the distribution that decides whether a technology stays niche or becomes the default a builder installs. Span has also widened its range with smaller models, sub-panels, and an at-the-meter device for utilities. The direction is the familiar one for maturing hardware, getting cheaper each generation, so the version that reaches a normal home will likely cost a good deal less than today's. If you are wondering whether you can get one, you already can, through certified installers, as long as your budget stretches. The wait is not for availability. It is for the price to fall to where it makes sense for a house that is not mid-renovation. Which leaves you with a genuine decision rather than an easy one. If you are about to electrify an older home, Span can turn a $15,000 utility upgrade and a months-long wait into a software setting, a real savings with a real payback. If you have a sound 200 amp panel and no EV, battery or solar on the horizon, you are paying several $1,000s for a nicer app and a brain your house does not yet need. So the question to sit with is this. Is the smart panel worth it as the thing that unlocks an electric home you are building toward? Or are you buying the brain years before you have anything for it to think about?